Human beings are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. Thank you again for letting me to use your media to be the voice of my people. It means a lot to me.
Not just for your people, but for humans.
For humans, exactly. And when people tell me about, no, not exactly, I say for everybody, for humanity, for everybody, for Ukrainian people, for all people who are suffering, people in Iraq, people in Syria, people in Palestine, all around the world, for all the people who are suffering.
From that perspective, I can muster up a thank you in my heart from a human to someone so brave. It's amazing what you're doing, and I thank you a lot for what you are doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for spending time talking about this today with me and sharing.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Let's Keep Talking. Today is a special episode. It's quite unique. As you know, most of the episodes of this show are about personal awareness of yourself, of your life, and becoming healthy emotionally with the way you deal with yourself and those around you, a lot about relationships and the awareness of how to be healthy in those. Today is slightly different and very special. I'm very happy about today's episode because this conversation is an awareness about what's going on in the world today. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. Before we begin that discussion, I'd like to just introduce to you the guests that we have on the show today, Miss Beth and Blaze. How are you guys doing?
Fine, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us and letting me and Blaze to use your media to be the voice of the people of Iran. It means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. A little bit about Miss Beth and Blaze. Blaze has been on the podcast a couple times before. He's one of my best friends in the whole wide world. And his mother, Miss Beth, who has been so kind to join us, calls Iran home, moved from there years ago. Yes. And is very, very knowledgeable and passionate about communicating the difficulties of the Iranian women and the oppression going on right now. And so I'm very happy, and we are very blessed to be able to have this time and space with Miss Beth. So just to clarify for those listening, Iran, like many other places in the world, have gone through lots of changes and lots of different rules and wars and power dynamics. 1979, up until 1979, for a long period of time, there was religious freedom, and it was a nice place to be. There was a lot of human rights, and that seemed to be the basis of the culture there. 1979, that changed. So for the last 43 years or so, there has been a much more hostile government and culture in what would be technically the Islamic Republic of Iran, or referred to as Iran. And there have been many revolutions, as Ms. Beth is explaining here, but none of them have reached what seems to be the global consciousness that this one has, or had the effect that this one has. I'm curious to know, as I'm sure a lot of listeners are, about the girl that started this and why this one is different.
Okay, this time what happened this time was that this girl, I can show her picture. I don't know.
And we'll put it on this. We'll put it after the
okay.
The
her name was Mahsa Amini, and she came from a city in Iran with her brother to Tehran, which is the capital city, for vacation. And because Iran is an Islamic country, so women in Iran are supposed to cover their hair.
When was this, if you don't mind me asking, just a couple of years ago, or was it this year?
No, it just happens September 2022.
This is the reason for the episode.
Exactly. It has started since September 16, 2022, was the day that Mahsa was arrested.
Mahsa?
Her name, yes. Her name is Mahsa.
Mahsa.
Yes. She was arrested.
Where was she vacationing from?
She was sitting from city in Iran, Sanandaj, I guess. She was from that city, or Saqqez. She came to Tehran, the capital city, for vacation with her brother. And the morality police in Iran, which are under the government rule, they operate under the government, the Islamic government. The morality police, they caught her because to them, her hijab wasn't proper. So women in Iran, they are supposed to cover their hair, and they're supposed to cover their body up to their wrist, all over their body. And many times in Iran, people show off their hair. They have makeup on their face. They have very stylish, overall, many stylish scarves. And the government let the people to do what to walk in the streets like that. But once in a while, just the morality police comes and just get some women. They put them in the van.
Just to remind them.
Just to remind them, exactly. So this time what happened, they caught her. And they put her in the van. And they were taking her to a 1-hour class to teach her that, you are supposed to, watch your hijab and not to show off your hair or stuff like that. In the van, it was Mahsa and a few other girls in the van. And the
That
other
had also
girls,
been picked up
Yes.
for improper dressing.
exactly.
By the morality police.
By the morality police, yes. And what happened in the van, Mahsa argues with the morality police that you have no right to catch me. My hijab is good, this, that. And what the morality police does, they hit her in her head. That's what the other girls who were in the van, they said later because they witnessed everything.
All of the police officers are men, I would assume?
Most of them, but there are ladies in Iran that they work under the government and they come and in the streets, they, if they see a woman having not proper hijab, they say, hey, you need to, watch over your hijab, or they grab them, they grab them and take them to the van. So
Would you say like the vast majority are men?
men, the vast majority of men, of
So
course.
she's in the van being taken to this class for improper dressing, and she says, hey, this isn't cool. I'm doing just fine. There's no reason you should be taking me. And they
hit her in the head, and she ended up going to the hospital. And while she was in the hospital, that's her picture, while she was in the hospital, one other Iranian brave reporter, she was a girl, she went to the hospital and took picture of Mahsa.
reported of this.
Yes. And she posted. And that picture went viral.
That's very, very brave.
Yes, and they got that girl, the reporter, the one who took the picture
She's
of
not
her.
alive anymore?
She's alive. I think she's alive, but she's in prison right now.
Sure.
So that picture went viral, and what happened? People were
Do we know her name?
The reporter that took the picture.
I knew, but I forgot
I will,
at the time.
I will
I'm
put the
sorry.
name of the reporter right here if I'm able to find it.
Yeah, I will tell you later.
If you're looking for it, it's just the one that took the picture of Massa as her name. So
Yes.
should be not too hard to find.
Yes, easy to find, exactly. So that picture went viral. People were so upset and then she died. Mahsa died in hospital. And people were so upset. People started coming to the street and shouting and yelling against the government.
Yep.
And that's how this time started.
I think another really important thing to note is that prior to this, prior to this certain revolution, in that time, like we said, in the past 43 years, there have been like certain attempts and efforts to reconcile what was in the past with what is now, right? I think it's important to note that with this one specifically, oh gosh, my brain just went blank. I was about to say something. I had a good point. Oh,
This has been different.
What's up?
This has been different. Maybe it's been more on social media, more publicized.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know. I had a good point. My brain honestly just went blank. I don't know.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because we do have a time block for our episode today, and I do want to make sure to complete the story for listeners. This has been a much different revolution than the small ones in the last few decades, and this has gotten much more attention. Are there 15,000 people that have been arrested for standing up to the morality police?
It's not only to the morality police. It's like I said, since the revolution happened in Iran, again, women are the second class in Iran right now. And again, a woman cannot travel on her own in Iran. If, for example, a woman lives in Iran and they want to leave the country.
Everything all right? Real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the reporter's name, but I can't.
Oh, it's I'll do that after.
Okay. So if right now a woman wants to leave Iran and go to another country, she has to have a written permission from her husband or her father. So it's not only about the hijab anymore. It's about the
Women's
freedom of a speech. People in Iran, they are not free to speak against the government. So if anybody speaks against the government, they put him or her in jail, or he ended up getting tortured or die. Or
Do you
they
think-
kill.
Do you think there will be success in this revolution?
Definitely, no doubt about
When
it.
what I was going to add to help her point is, now that I remember, was that like prior to that, like people had a lot of resentment built up because it's been happening for a long time, 43 years. So this was like the breaking point
Yeah.
to where people were going to go past limits that they were scared to kind of even venture in, if you will,
Yeah.
in terms of like the courage to stand up and to do these things, even if it meant death,
Yeah.
even if it meant imprisonment. So that's just kind of been, it's just been adding more wood to the fire. Now it's just like huge. And it's like, hey, this is not cool. This is the last straw,
Yeah.
you know? So
It's impossible for me to try to articulate the bravery of the people that are protesting against the abuse right now, but how amazing that is.
Yeah.
And I really am concerned with, in the time that we have, with letting listeners know how I think there's a good understanding at this point now of what's going on. I think people can relate it even to some of the human right movements in America as a result of violence. How can people help?
Okay, how people can help is that the people in Iran, and if we have time, I would love to talk more about it, to explain how they are killing people in Iran in a very inhuman way. But what they want is to be their voice. They ask us, the other Iranian who live outside of Iran, please be our voice. Because right now the internet connection in Iran is very limited. The government limited the internet connection. Still people there get their way to go around the limitation, and still they send the videos of the protests and what's going on in Iran, outside of Iran, and we get to see it every single day on social media, especially on Instagram. But for example, one of the movements that happened, it happened 3 years ago. And what happened, because everything was very expensive at the time and the price of the gas went up, even though Iran is a very,
Oil rich.
yes, rich in oil, and the price of gas went up and people were so upset. People came to the street and protest because people are, living under the line of poverty. So many people are living under the line of poverty, and students and people, they came and they protest. And what they did, they arrested them, they killed some of them. And what they did, they got some of those students. They couldn't kill them because it was many of them, about, I guess, 1,500 of them. What they did, they tied big, heavy chain to their bodies. They dropped them into the rivers. And their bodies were found later by people.
that's terrible.
Navid Afkari is one of those people who protested 3 years ago. They got him. They took him to the prison. And they said because he was protesting for freedom, because he was protesting why everything is expensive, even though Iran is a rich country, why people cannot talk, why people don't have the right of freedom in Iran, they punished him. They hanged him. The day before he was hanged, he talked on the phone with his friend, and he said, this is my message to the people of Iran. If you want to stay silent, you are not helping the oppressed. You are helping the oppressor. I haven't done anything wrong. I spoke up for you, for freedom. That's our right. Everybody has a right. They are killing me for doing nothing just because of I'm speaking up. They are looking for a neck to hang. That's literally the same words that Navid said. They hanged him. His two brothers, since then, 3 years, they have been in prison. They put the other two brothers in prison just because they are Navid's brother. And Navid's mother, she is talking. She's speaking up. She's such a brave woman. She's speaking up. That's one. But this time, when Mahsa got killed, especially women, especially young girls, they were so upset.
How-
They came to the street and to show their, rejection and objection to the government, the women started taking off their hijab. And one of them was Hadise.
How old was Massa?
Massa was 22 years
So she
old.
was
Very
she's
young.
1 year
Very
older
young.
than me.
Yeah.
Very young, yeah.
Hadise is, look at her. She's so beautiful, full of energy, full of life. She just came to street and she just took off her hijab and she was just, moving her hijab and just yelling, shouting for freedom again. And the police, they got her, they killed her. She was killed. And right before she was arrested, I have her voice on my phone. Right before she was arrested, she said that I come to the street because one day when Iran is a free country, I will be happy that I came and I was a part of it. But she didn't manage to see that day. She's going to see, of course, in the spirit, but they killed her. Another girl, Nika Shakarami, she was 16 years old. 16 years old in the street yelling for freedom. Not only for hijab, freedom. They got her, they raped her, they killed her. For 10 days, parents had no idea where she was, even though they killed her the day after they got her. For 10 days, they didn't tell her parents about what happened to her. After 10 days, they called the parents. They said, come get her dead body. When they went, they got her dead body. They put the body in the morgue. They were arranging a funeral for her. And because people are mad and upset, when they know somebody got killed, they go to the funeral. People go, even they don't know the parents, even they don't know the person who died. So government found that they are having a funeral for her and people are going to go participate. What they did, they stole the body from the morgue. They buried her somewhere unknown. Even the parents didn't get to have a nice funeral for her.
As a parent yourself, that's it's really hard. And she's 16, you know.
Mershad. Look how good looking, full of energy, full of life. He was a cook, a chef at the university, one of the universities in Iran. And the students were having protests against the government, against the police, not the police, I would say the government police. Because the government in Iran, they have their own army, they have their own force, which is separate from the police.
Separate from the morality police? Is that what-
Morality police, I would say, yes.
Okay.
So they came to the university, they started killing the students, and he joined the students, they killed him.
And he worked at that university
He worked at the university
as a cook.
chef.
As a chef,
as
yeah.
a chef or as
They
a
killed
cook.
him just for protest. Even a man, too. So not
Yes.
just
And not only
women, but
they-
obviously we have
of course.
here,
Yes.
you know,
One other. Khoda Nur. Khoda means God, Nur means light. So his name was the light of God. He was protesting again. They shoot him. He was bleeding. They cut him. And he was thirsty while he was bleeding. And he asked for a glass of water. What they did, that's Khoda Nur. When he was bleeding, they tied him to a bar. They put, I know the quality of picture is not very good, but that's if you go and see it on internet, you see blurry, yes. They put a glass of water in front of him, but not within his reach. He couldn't reach that glass of water. They let him die thirsty.
not only do they kill him, they're killing these people in very just inhumane ways. You know, it's honestly just treacherous to say the least. It's terrible.
And these are just a few examples of what's going on in my country and how people are dying left and right. And not only people who go to protest, even if people are just walking in the street and like they're going to a school or they're going to just get some grocery, and because they're just shooting people randomly, so many people they got killed. You know, about 40 more than 40 kids have been killed.
Children.
Children. Just recently, this child, his name is Kian. I can pull up his picture on my phone. He was going to school with his father when they were, the morality police, they were shooting the protester in the street, and they were shooting randomly.
And
So
they just shoot without even thinking, too. right?
Exactly.
It's just a massacre, to say the least,
Exactly.
Do we know how many people have died in the protests?
They say about 400, but we know for sure it's much more than that.
Because it's hard to rely on the
Yes.
numbers.
Yeah. How
Yes.
many people, Mom, were... He mentioned a death sentence earlier today, and I'm sure you're very familiar with that. How many
Yes.
people got sentenced to death just for protesting? I think there's like
about
1,500 or something like
No,
that?
more than that. About whoever they are in jail, they said that they are
Gonna die
they have
too?
to die, and the reason government is doing that because they want to
Send a message.
they send a message to the rest of the people. This is what's happened to you. If you want to go and protest, we are gonna get you. We are gonna kill you. We are gonna hang you too. But it's not working. People are just getting more furious.
People are still protesting.
Oh, of course,
The
are
amount of
protesting.
courage is
Oh, of
ridiculous
course.
there.
Let me
It's-
tell you this. One of the slogans that people are saying in the streets is that tell my mom or my dad they don't have a daughter anymore, they don't have a son anymore. Meaning that they leave the house, they know they might not come back home anymore.
Scary, to say the least. It's
What's going on in my country, it's, you can play that song if that's okay. Baraye. It tells you what's going on in my country right now.
how do you spell that?
I'll do this after the
Oh, you do it
shoot. I'll
after the
just
show.
put it in.
Okay.
We'll put
So-
it in right here.
Okay, so this is how people do. They have nothing to lose. They say either we die with dignity or we win.
Just like you said earlier, you're either going to help the oppressed or help the oppressor. And by
Exactly.
remaining silent, you've chosen to help the oppressor.
Exactly.
So that's kind of their mentality going into these events is they'd rather die someone with valor and courage and dignity for a good cause that's worthwhile instead of living
Yeah.
and not expressing
Supporting
their...
the
Yeah. And the
oppressor.
amount of just... Like you said, it's impossible to convey with words and articulate the courage and the
Yeah.
bravery that takes is absurd. So, like my mom said, the best way to help is to spread awareness because thankfully not all countries are like that. Most of them aren't. So the countries that like we live in America, we have a very free place. By just spreading that, awareness is the best thing you can do because we all work together when we're united, So
My hope for this conversation is not a solution. This isn't a brainstorming session, but more so that this feeling of devastation and also support for the courage of people fighting this would be spread to other people. And if you're touched by this, if you have information about this and can share it with others, whether it's through this video or through any other form of media, with a lot of hope that the more people that this story can touch, the more people that can experience this feeling that we have right now, the sooner the victory will come to the people.
Of course, and the thing is that right now, since this happened, like I said, since September, it has been more than 6 weeks that has been going on in my country, and every single weekend, all around the world, in the big cities like Los Angeles, like New York, like
Even
Toronto,
countries like Germany.
Germany,
Yeah.
all around the world, every single weekend, Iranian gather, and they are supporting the people in Iran. They try to be their voice, and people from those countries that are joining them,
This is beautiful.
and which is beautiful. And just recently, Canada, they announced that they are not going to let Canada announced that.
Is that you?
Yeah, I just.
Oh, I didn't know if
I
that
was
a
thinking it
boy
was a
over there.
rat.
I don't know if it's a boy
I
over
thought
there.
that too.
But that's what I mean. You look at each other like, is that our boy over there?
That's funny.
But yeah, so
that just
Canada, Germany, to name a
Germany,
few.
a few countries, and just the European countries, they just said that they're going to cut the relationship with the Iranian government until they stop doing this,
Good.
because people have
Is
been.
that monumental? Is that huge? That
It is
European
huge.
countries-
It's very huge. That's why I'm saying that we are sure we know for sure that this time is going to be different. This time we are going to win, and always light overcome darkness.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And it's going to happen. But of course, like I said, like what Iranian people wants us and other people, we all are human beings. At the
And-
end of the day,
And you had a protest here too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
We did organize a protest about 2 weeks ago. It was on. It was supposed to be on November the 5th, but we moved it to November the 12th. Yes,
Midtown Mobile.
Midtown Mobile. We had the protest, and we tried to raise awareness. And one other thing that I did, I put this brochure together, which talks about the history of Iran, because, like you said in the beginning of your talk, many people have no idea. They have no idea. They don't know what is the country, what is the language, what is the culture. So I thought that it's a good opportunity to provide a brochure and to explain about the history. The country, which is the origin of human rights, is suffering now.
One thing I like to add to support your point too is, like, Iran in itself, or Persia, whatever you want to call it, in itself, I think the reason she's put such a, I guess, importance or stressing the history of it is because it's not always been this way. It was very innovative, very beautiful, very free, very rich.
Yeah.
Just culture as a whole. But the sad part is now, like in our generation, given that we are quite close in age, and the people growing up now just know Iran as terrorist, or as, misogynist, or as oppressors. And it's sad, to say the least, because it has not always been that way. As a matter of fact, before that, it was the polar opposite. Yeah. Like she said, the first cylinder of human rights by Cyrus Gray was found there, and with Reza Shah and all that, it was beautiful. It was great. It was innovative. It was awesome. There was a woman on the beach wearing 2-piece swimsuits, not having to worry about getting slaughtered or killed. Now, if you just show your hair.
Not only that, freedom of religion,
Religion.
Right now in Iran, there is a faith. They call it Baha'i, and the government doesn't recognize them. They cannot have higher education. I remember I was middle school when the principal came and announced that from tomorrow, Baha'i people cannot come to school anymore, and they were one of the smartest students in the whole school. Why? Because just because they're Baha'i, just because they believe what they believe, they cannot work in the governmental position. They cannot have any public position in Iran right now. Why? Just because they are Baha'i. It's just
they're denied so many opportunities just because of their belief system. And this was in middle school. What year around was this? What year? Kind of 5 year, I guess, when you're in middle school. You're born in 69, right?
Yeah, 69. Yes.
Yeah. So I know.
Yeah.
So, like,
now
about
everybody knows how old I am.
She looks
which
like
is okay. Which is
We'll
okay.
cut that part out. It's the only part of this whole interview we're
53,
cutting
which,
out.
No,
is-
it's okay. 53, and I'm proud of
you are the
my
fountain
age.
of
I'm
youth,
proud.
though. You look very young.
No, thank you.
So, like, around. So you were in middle school. This was shortly after we had
Exactly. Revolution.
What was his name again?
Khomeini.
This was shortly after
Yes.
Khomeini came to power.
A couple of
So as a
years.
young girl, I mean, you were probably 11, 12. Seeing that probably broke your heart.
Exactly. I never forget that. I never ever because I remember my friends. They were Baha'i. They were very smart, very very kind.
And they couldn't get basic opportunities.
No,
just
they
because
couldn't.
these are people you knew and cherished, your friends.
Yeah,
That
and
sucks. It's terrible.
I'm a mother. I have children. I have a son. I have a daughter. And I want the people who are listening to this, just please imagine, close your eyes for 1 minute. Imagine your loved ones. Either it's your parents, it's your pet, your child, your wife, your husband, your loved one. Just imagine your loved one to be killed in a very inhuman way.
hung, you know, raped. Just
How do you want the rest of the world to react to that?
you'd be
Do the same thing.
exactly because we're all one family under the sun, like Bruce Lee said. So skin.
And that's why, because as a mom, I put myself in place of all these moms because I see them every day on social media. I see the moms crying on their children's gravesite, yelling, shouting, putting their hijab. And I just put myself, say, what's the difference between me and the other mother?
Nothing.
Nothing. And that's why I'm doing this. And I'm not scared of dying. Friends tell me, you're not scared? Because they can recognize, they are everywhere. They're outside of Iran too, the morality police, they kill people. I'm not scared. What is the difference between me and the mother of Puya? What is the difference between me and mother of all these young people? Nothing. I don't decide for my son. I don't decide for my daughter to come to the protest. I didn't ask them. I don't decide for my daughter. I don't decide for my husband. I just decide for me, for myself.
Especially as a woman too.
As a woman, as a human
as
being.
an Iranian
As a
woman, a
human
human
being.
being. Yeah, it's the imperative, you know.
If I call myself human, I have to act like a human.
And humans fight for peace and justice.
And I just, if that's okay, I want to finish with one thing.
Please.
And that's it. Like I said, we cannot do this by ourselves. We need help from people all around the world to be the Iranian voice and to come and help in any way they can. And I want to finish my talk with this poem by Saadi. He is a very famous Iranian poet. And this poem that he wrote hundreds years ago is written at the entrance of the United Nations. I read that in Farsi first and then I read that in English.
Yes, please.
بنی آدم اعضای یکدیگرند که در آفرینش ز یک گوهرند. چو عضوی به درد آورد روزگار دگر عضوها را نماند قرار. چو کس مهنت دیگران بیغمی نشاید که نامد نهند آدمی. Human beings are members of a whole in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. Thank you again for letting me to use your media to be the voice of my people. It means a lot to me.
Not just for your people, but for humans.
For humans, exactly. And when people tell me about, no, not exactly. I say for everybody, for humanity, for everybody, for Ukrainian people, for all people who are suffering, people in Iraq, people in Syria, people in Palestine, all around the world, for all the people who are suffering.
From that perspective, I can muster up a thank you in my heart from a human to someone so brave. It's amazing what you're doing, and I thank you a lot for what you are doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for
Spending time talking about this today with me and
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you so much.